now let me tell you about the plot of the story. So in the beginning, very beginning, there was a very unusual delivery boy, delivery grandpa. He was 62 years old. His name was Otis Amber. There were 16 letters signed to him for the 16 heirs, or the 16 chess pieces. And it said that they're renting apartments in Sunset Towers right next to the Westinghouse. So I got kind of a suspicious thought there. And on the first page it said that. The very bottom of the first page it said there was no such person as Barney Northrop. He signed the letters, he called people, he put his phone number there, and he doesn't exist. That was just nonsense for me. So in the beginning of the book, I was just like, wow, this book is really hard. But towards the end, it's really fun, and you gotta read it. So, anyways, they got the letter, and it said to come down to the Westinghouse to do a little research and to the South Library. So all the 16 heirs went there. There was one woman who was a retired secretary. She has a kind of big hip and she has a fake crutch because she wants all the attention. She wants the attention out of her. I mean, in her. So that everybody can pay attention to her because, well, let me tell you why she wants so much attention later and why no one pays attention to her. So, when Barney Northrop rented the apartments, there was like several people with different jobs. One was a secretary, which was Seidel. One was a bookie. One was a burglar. One was a bomber. And that did not influence me at all. And one was a mistake. So I was thinking who the mistake was. I mean, like, nobody looks like a mistake. They all sound, and in the book, Ellen Raskin describes them so well that you can't figure anything out. You have to get like insy-beansy clues from each sentence and combine them together. Ellen Raskin is a very, very good author who uses exact verbs, and it's just really hard. It's just so many things going on in your mind. So they got in the Westinghouse, and there is Sam Westing's lawyer. His name was E.J. Plum. He was kind of clumsy, but only when he was around J.J. Ford. I was wondering why. Maybe he's like kind of scared of her, or because Judge Ford is a higher level than him, so he might be like kind of nervous. But he's like crumpling his papers. He's just so nervous with his hands and all that. This kind of got me creeped out. And he read the will, which was a set of rules and a letter that Sam Westing wrote before he died. And there was all the 16 heirs were paired into two groups. They're paired in 8 groups of 2 people, and it seemed like they're all the opposite people. Like group 1 was Madame Who and Jake Wexler. Like Jake Wexler was like a really, really shy person who knew how to speak English very well. Madame Who, on the other hand, just immigrated from China 2 years ago. She doesn't know how to speak English, so she might not be as useful. And group 2 was Flora Bombeck, who was like a grandma, and her partner was Turtle, who was like a child like me. So like the pairs were just confusing. And there's the youngest kid of the Theodorakis family. His name is Chris, and Christos, people call him Chris, and I kind of feel bad for him because he was fine. He was like a happy boy, but then one day he got in an automobile accident, and then he lost about more than half of his brain cells. So he's kind of cuckoo. And I really feel bad for him because it's not his fault. He's still in a wheelchair. He's in a wheelchair, and his partner, who's an intern, who's a doctor, I think he was a plastic surgeon. and they're just so different. The pairs are like totally opposite. One pair 5 was Grace Wexler and Mr. Who. Mr. Who's like a really fat guy who owns a shop, and like he invented paper inner soles. He sued Sam Westing for stealing his inventions. And it's just crazy. Grace Wexler is like all know-it-all. She wants to get all the attention. She has all the attention. She's just a star. And like it was like so twisted. It was like so cold in my mind. And like as I began to read the book, I thought of some suspicious things. And one was that J.J. Ford had and her partner, Sandy McSuthers, whose name is also Alexander McSuthers, were really different, but there was one thing, and they both knew Sam Westing very well. Sandy McSuthers was the doorman of Sunset Towers, and he had a chipped tooth and glasses. And he worked for Sam Westing, but he got fired from the Westinghouse, so which could make him a possible murderer. And J.J. Ford, who lost every single game that she and Sam Westing played because he used a secret skill. It's called sacrificing the queen. As I said earlier in the book cover of the other one, it says the queen falling down, sacrificing the queen. And the queen in this case is Crow, and the king is Otis Amber. But I was thinking about that a little bit with my friends, and I was like, this is like really weird. Like Crow and Otis Amber aren't married, right? So, and Sam Westing should be playing his own game because he needs to know what's going on. I was like 100% sure that he was not dead when the Westing game was going on. So maybe I thought Sam Westing was the king of the other side. There's two sides, right? So, like this is like Otis Amber's side. This is Sam Westing's side, and maybe Crow was Sam Westing's wife, queen. But I was also wondering why it was Otis. Why was Otis the king? Because he doesn't have a wife. He wasn't married. His IQ is like 50. He was like a 4th grade dropout. He's just really not that smart. So I kept on reading, keeping all these thoughts in my head and ideas and clues and all that. Then I got to this point where J.J. Ford and Sandy McSuthers, J.J. Ford is a judge. Her full name is Josie Jo Ford. Judge Josie Jo Ford. So J.J. Ford, which is kind of funny. And her apartment is 4D. If you say 4D really fast, 40, it kind of says like Ford, her last name. So I was wondering if it has some kind of relation with that. And there was another part, where they had clues. They had 4 clues each for each pair. Group 5 with Grace Wexler and Mr. Who. She was really determined to win that, and so was Mr. Who. He would be and two of the clues said when they matched it up, it says 4C, and that was also an apartment. That's where Mr. Who lived. So Grace Wexler was like 4C. 4C, the apartment number is like, the murderer lives in 4C. And then Mr. Who's like, I live in 4C. And then they started like arguing and all that. There was some funny parts too. And like it just got so weird. Like there's like Angela's the bomber. She's so sweet. She's the bomber. Turtle's covering up for her. She's saying she's the bomber. And Flora Bomback might be the bomber because Flora Bomback. There was just like so many different choices, right? So like I was just out of my mind, and like so I kept on reading, and then I hit the climax where it didn't really show, but there was like so many different climaxes, and one part was like really sad. Sandy and Otis, Amber, and Crow were partners. Sandy and Josie Joe Ford were partners. They sat at table 3 was Sandy McSuthers and Josie Joe Ford. Table 4 was Bertha Erica Crow and Otis Amber. So Crow can see JJ Ford and Sandy pretty well, and then Sandy was thirsty, so he said, "Crow, why don't you get me a drink?" Because she was the maid, and she went to get lemon juice. She poured it in, and then Sandy drank it. He drank and drank, and then about a minute later, he started suffering. He started going all red. He had like rashes everywhere. He looked so, well, I can't say he looked. She described it as if he looked so dead. And then one moment, and so everybody thought that it was Crow who put like poison or whatever in the drink to make Sandy die. So she got arrested, and Sandy was dead. And then everybody started crying and yelling, and after Crow got arrested, this time Turtle took in charge instead of Judge. So Turtle became Judge Turtle Wexler. And she is a very, very intelligent. She's very, very intelligent for her age. She does stock markets. She can do business. She knows all the keywords and all the clues in the business, which Sam Westing was running. One was WPP, which was Westing Paper Products, as in paper inner soles that Mr. Who also made. So it kind of got me some kind of crazy mind. I thought all of them were related, but but then I realized that some of them are. They can't all be related to Sam Westing, and Flora Baumbach can't be Sam Westing's niece because she's kind of older than him, so it wouldn't make any sense. So, and then there was one other climax. Well, it wasn't kind of a climax where so Josie Joe Ford was a judge. She had all the trials. She could write notes, and she could do information. She could do background check because she was a judge. So she did that, as in kind of a cheating, but it doesn't really matter because Sam Westing's not looking, or is he? And so Josie Joe Ford and Sandy McSuthers, or Alexander McSuthers, did research on every single heir. And but they only found so little of evidence, so little clues that could help them with the case of the Westing game. Because they were hiding so much information, they couldn't get anything out of it. And when it was Sandy's turn to enter his information, he painstakingly did it, which kind of struck me on that one. I like read back, and I like wrote down notes and all that, and I remembered in the will that it said tomorrow my ashes will be scattered onto the 4 winds, north, south, east, west. And I found 4 people with N, S, W, and E in their as the first letter in their last name. Sam Westing, Barney Northrub, Sandy McSuthers, and Julian R. Eastman, who was the president. So I was thinking, and I didn't know what that meant. I mean, like, I wasn't like a genius who could just solve everything once they got it. But then once I thought about it, I talked over it with my friends, with my teacher even, and I made a prediction and inference that Barney Northrop, Sam Westing, Sandy McSuthers, and Julian R. Eastman are the same people. Because it wouldn't say my ashes will be scattered onto the 4 winds for no reason. I think it meant that his ashes. So he has 3 different disguises, which is what the Tindir does. He does plastic surgery. and Sam Westing is a master of disguises, so he might have to do something with that. I think it means like once one person dies, then all three disguises dies. So it would be kind of obvious that Sam Westing was kind of faking it. But Sam Westing's not playing the game. Only Sandy McSuthers is playing the game. When Sandy McSuthers died, everybody blamed Crow for it. But then Turtle, as a judge, pronounced that Crow's innocent because she realized that Sandy takes medication every day, and it wears off in a very short time, about an hour or so. And he took his medicine about 2 hours ago. Then, just when he was drinking the water, his medication wore off and he died. So she realized that, and Crow got out of jail. But I read to the end of the book, and I realized towards the end, the denouement. I love that word, denouement. And it's the denouement. That's funny. Sandy, it was an excuse. So Sandy didn't really die of his medication. It was an excuse for Sam Westing to share some information, to say, hey, well, you guys did good, and Turtle won. And he just let it out. He faked his own death, as in Sam Westing, and Wendy Winclopple, who was Crow's ex-husband. And strange thing, Winclopple was Grace's middle name, Grace Winclopple Wexler. So Grace was Sam Westing's niece, that was for sure, and Crow was Sam Westing's wife, ex-wife. It just got all twisted. Like, I was like so mad. I was like, how could I not figure that out? It was like right there. Like, Ellen Raskin is such a good author. I wish I could be just like her. And there was so much happiness in the end after all that mystery and darkness. So what happened was, remember how I told you that Angela and Dee Denton Deer were engaged? They married 5 years later. And then 5 years later, Crow was 17. I mean, not Crow. Turtle was 17. I was thinking ahead. And so what happened was, Angela married Dee Denton Deer 5 years later. Turtle married Theo. Seidel married the president of Salt Sausages, not the president. And Crow married Otis Amber. So basically, Sam Westing died, and with him died Wendy Winclopple, Julian R. Eastman, Sandy McSuthers, and Barney Northrop. And in the end, I was just really weirded out. Like, see chapter 29, I think it's the last chapter, 5 years later. And it says, and it tells like all stories about like how like they marry and all that. It's just so happy. But I don't know why there's only one chapter of that. Wouldn't it be better if there was like more of the happy stuff than like less of the mystery stuff? But that's why Ellen Raskin is such a good author. She thinks about what kids really have in their imagination, what they think, and what they really feel inside, what they would like. And she has a few kids, but she wrote this a long time ago because unfortunately she died, and I was really sad, even though I don't think I was born when she died. But Ellen Raskin is such a great author. There's so many other books written by Ellen Raskin, and you might have read other books, and you might have thought that yeah, good. Ellen Raskin is the best author ever. And that's what I think. She has such good descriptions. It makes me feel like I'm watching a movie in words. Because my RTI teacher was reading it to me, reading it to the whole class. So I felt like she had all these emotions, like when it was Mr. Who, and it's like, oh my gosh, I need a chocolate bar. And it was Grace Wexler, she was like, oh my gosh, Angela, you need to prepare for the party and the wedding. And my RTA teacher was so into it, even though she knew what was gonna happen.